Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Bluebeam Solutions for Today's Remote Workforce. My name is Diana Alarcon, and I am the Marketing Events Coordinator here at TopCon Solutions Store. On behalf of everyone here at TopCon Solutions, I would like to state that we sincerely hope that you, your friends, and family are safe and in good health and remain so throughout this time. We certainly want to offer any support that we can. And thank you once again for just joining us here this morning. So time permitting today, there will be a Q&A at the end of the presentation. Before I formally begin the presentation, I would like to just go over these few housekeeping items. So yes, time permitting, there will be a Q&A. If we are unable to get to your questions, certainly our presenters will and can reach out to you to make sure that your question or questions are answered. Today's webinar will be recorded, so you will be able to reference it on our YouTube channel. And, oh, there we go. There is our YouTube channel. So you will be able to find our recording here as well as previous recorded webinars. Another location where you can reference our recorded webinars is on our website, topconsolutions.com. If you hover over the technical support tab there, we have our videos category where once again, you'll be able to see today's recorded webinar and previous recorded webinars as well. If you navigate then to our You're Invited tab, this is another great location for your reference in which you can see and register for any upcoming webinars that we will be hosting in the near future. Okay, just wanted to point all of that information out to you. For today, we will have 3 presenters. First of which is Charlie Smith. He is our Bluebeam account manager here at TopCon Solutions Store with 3 years of experience. Next, we will have David Campbell, application specialist. And last but certainly not least is Paul Stuva, our software support manager. For today's agenda, we will be going over licensing tips and tricks, collaboration options, enabling collaboration, standardizing collaboration, Bluebeam Studio Server Whitelist, tech support and consulting, and of course, time permitting, we will hopefully be answering all questions today. So with that being said, I would like to start off the presentation with Charlie Smith. So thank you again for joining us, and go ahead, Charlie.
Hey, thanks, Diana, and happy Friday, everybody. Appreciate having the opportunity to say a few words with you guys about license management before Dave and Paul take a deeper dive into team collaboration using Studio. And so basically, I'll just kind of get into it. There are 2 ways that you and your firm can transfer licenses for home use, and you can also take it back from home to work once this is all over. The first way is basically just through the enterprise licensing portal, which is found on bluebeam.com. And then the other way is contacting me and or Bluebeam support group directly and asking for assistance. We all have a pretty good response time, so typically can get it done within first couple hours of the day. So yeah, and keeping in mind, as a value-added reseller, we do have the ability to provide you guys with registered computer reports and licensing information anytime, just per request. And then the other option I mentioned is having your IT administrator log into the enterprise licensing portal, and you guys can make those transfers happen at will anytime in that portal. Next slide. Thank you. So yeah, one of the key steps when transferring licenses is with unregistering your license from your computer, and that before you move it over to your home computer. And so this slide highlights the steps that are required for that, and I encourage anyone to take a screenshot for future reference, and then also, yeah, shoot me an email if you have any questions with that kind of thing too. So yeah, when it comes to collaborating in real time using Bluebeam Studio, everyone who has a current license of Revu, whether it's standard, CAD, or Extreme, have access and the ability to start a studio session or project. For anyone that doesn't have a license of Bluebeam, but has the Bluebeam as their main PDF viewer or that 30-day free trial that turns into the PDF viewer, you can still partake in studio sessions, just with a few limitations. If anyone has questions with setting up a studio ID for getting started, please reach out to us and we'll gladly assist. There's also some good support articles online that I can kind of point in your direction as well. But yeah, at this point, I'm going to hand the floor over to our leading technical and application specialist, David Campbell, who will walk us through the studio workflow. So thanks again, everybody, and yeah, happy Friday.
All right. Thank you very much, Charlie. So where I wanted to start here was the collaboration with Revu. Of course, it all starts in the cloud, right in the Studio server. Now with Studio, it gives us access to projects and sessions. Okay, so both of those are special in their own part, and we will talk about both of those in a little more detail. But what I wanted to do is kind of break this down as well and give you an idea of what they kind of offer you, right? So with Bluebeam Studio, you do have user management. So you can bring all of these different users in and specify permissions on what they can do in a project, you know, folder-based permissions and subfolder-based permissions, and then project-based permissions themselves. In sessions, you can limit if they can save, print, upload documents, different things like that. It's very important when you're working in these remote environments and really to think about how to get maybe someone that doesn't have a paid version access into your session to upload documents, different things like that, or making sure that the right people have the access that they need to the right information, whether it's just documentation or it's a model. Also, pushing past that, you have your user groups. So I really like being able to group all of these users together, right, and then assign permissions. Now, a workflow a lot of times that I like to see inside of especially projects, but you can bring in, let's say, a group of administrators or project managers and really associate them as part of a team and give their group a standard permission set. So you don't want them getting around into too many of the folders, you want them to stay in their team folder, okay? But you can also bring that individual project manager out and specify permissions with them, for them, right? So we can kind of break that apart and specify those permissions as we need to. Now with navigating through these, I always recommend a dashboard, especially with your projects, navigating these for your users, right? Kind of making it easier to get through and find the documentation or the models, the information that they need. Editing offline, so you can take these documents, whether they're in a session or a project, you can take them offline and mark up on them, do what you need, take pictures, place comments, you know, kind of do takeoffs, what have you. And when you get back to a place that has some signal or you're ready to upload all of your comments, you just go right back online. And for the final part there, the device. So we're going to get into pretty much all of this here in a minute, but we do have this mobile capability to access our documents, whether you're using something like Bluebeam Drawings or the iPad, right? So making sure that this data is available for everyone who needs it, and making sure that those people have the right permissions to access that data. So this is a huge portion of collaboration with Studio, right? Now, also in this, Studio really, it concentrates on improving collaboration. So it is a real-time, if you're talking about, let's say, sessions here, real-time single source collaboration, right? You do have the capability to work regardless of that internet or that location, okay? Because we can take those documents offline. And you do have that automatic activity tracking, and you can track your different revisions of those documents as they update, okay? Now, as this, you can connect all of your teams across many different locations to review this information or allow them to work independently, right? Online, offline. It helps us really to minimize that risk, because I mean, it really is a central kind of cloud-based repository for our data, improving that transparency of everybody that can get into our project or session, as they have access, let's say permissions to access information, they have that information at their fingertips, okay? And again, a big part of it too is that user notification. So I really like getting into these sessions and projects, managing those notifications and sending me like a daily digest report of all the activity that happened within my projects or sessions. Or maybe I just want to be notified when specific folders or specific documents are updated. I can do that as well. So speaking off of that, I'm going to go right into this one as well. So with Bluebeam Studio, I kind of went through a whole little phase here, right? Bluebeam Studio, the way that we were used to working a lot of times here in the picture to the top left here is that everybody would get together and share ideas, right? We could be in a conference room, where have you, and really working together to get these, let's say, design review processes, coordination meetings, kind of what have you, whatever portion of this that you're in, even if it's just working itself, a relationship between an architect and a draftsman, just trying to, hey, is this model good to go? Do I need to make any changes before I continue on? Anything like that. Now what we're seeing is the middle lower picture there. Everybody's spread out, right? We've gone from working in these conference rooms, working together, to kind of being spread out all over right now in our homes, but even on a normal basis, everybody's kind of spread out because these projects are big and we need people from all over to kind of help out and participate in these different projects. Well, that's really where the online collaboration of Studio kind of helps piece everything together, right? It's enabling us all that centralized platform to kind of go to. We can talk to each other through chat or placing comments up there, pushing the RFIs, pushing the submittals, any questions that we have, or tracking these markups, tracking this data. Maybe actually as they're pulling conduit in the field, we can track this data through maybe statuses. And see how much of this stuff has been installed or pulled, or what's been estimated and what hasn't, or what's been bid. Okay, there's a whole lot of different things that we can kind of utilize this whole process for, but really it's all about joining everyone together, right? And bringing these pieces together to make it all work. So with Studio projects, the real big thing, so this is where I'm going to break down Studio for you guys. Studio projects is really I think of document management as a platform, right? In terms of it's your data, your file repository. Studio projects offers you the capability to host any document, any file size, any file type. I have myself hosted Revit documents on there, checked it out, opened it, made adjustments and saved it back, went back into double check, and there it is. Excel documents, Word documents, PDFs, you name it, it'll host it. The great thing about it too is it gives us that version control, so we can see as these documents, these things are updated, what has changed in them, okay? You have the mobility to use this pretty much from anywhere. Studio is free, as Charlie said there in the beginning. If you have that Studio account, let's say you want to use it on a home computer, great. You can transfer your license, or you can download a free 30-day trial, right? And when that expires, you can still access some of the sessions that are ongoing and some of that information. But if you have a paid account, you can access that information from anywhere, okay? And it allows you to upload and access anywhere, anytime. As I said, there's no file size limit, no file type limit, and guess what? No participant limit either. And these do not have a natural expiration date. They don't just expire. You can set that. You can kind of set it up when you're going in and adjusting your project to expire if you needed to, but it doesn't do it automatically. Now, with projects, we see the mobile usage, right, of drawings and iPad usage, okay? So with the iPad, typically we can access our documents from Box, Dropbox, Citrix, things like that. I really enjoy using projects. That way, and I'm gonna talk about this again here in a second, but if I use a project with my iPad, I can create tool sets, any of my punch keys, my walkthroughs, or any of the common comments I use, any of the takeoff tools, anything like that. I can create all of those and save it in the project so I can utilize those on my iPad, okay? Because we know it has a disconnect there. But if I save that tool set, it will recognize those and I can use those tools. So standardizing collaboration in a sense, which I will go into, as I said, in further detail here in a minute. Drawings. This is a free application you can download on your phone. Once you guys grant access, you set up drawings and you grant access to these documents, people can view them right from their phone. View all the markups, view the drawings themselves as they are right then. Now also, because I am big on navigation, I talked about this kind of earlier, right? Making the projects, sessions, making the documents themselves easier to navigate for your users is always big, especially when we're working remotely, or especially when we have people out in the field who need to navigate through these documents quickly. Utilize your hyperlinks. Any hyperlinks that you guys can set up is only going to help people further down the road, okay? And if I can give another tip here, if you have one extreme version, if you have one Bluebeam extreme version, it only takes that one time to create batch link, okay, to use that batch link process. After that is created, after all those hyperlinks are done, anyone else can use them, okay? Bluebeam sets, they are a very, very awesome functional piece of Bluebeam Revu, where they can essentially kind of break down the size of your files. You have 50, 60, 70 page sheet sets. What it's going to do is it kind of links itself. It gives you like a cache almost of these documents that is a Bluebeam file type. And let me specify here, it is a Bluebeam only file type, okay? So it is something specific for Bluebeam that we do utilize, but in that sense, all of your hyperlinks, all of your data, it's all there. You can break down your sets into parent and child sets if you want to utilize that to help update anyone in the field and keep them constantly updating. Which, and if any of you guys have questions about sets or anybody wants to get deeper into those, we can after this webinar, or just reach out to us and I can help out with that. Now, finally, on the navigation tips here, and this kind of works right into the utilize hyperlinks, but is digital dashboards. If you can give someone a dashboard to click through, that's a bunch of hyperlinks, taking them to the data that they need. Maybe it's a certain project number, or maybe it's the specific sheet set they're looking for, the specs, any RFI log, the submittal log, the daily reports, what have you. That digital dashboard is going to really optimize navigating through it and just take a lot of that time away that they would spend trying to find documents clicking through those folders. For studio sessions, so on the other side of studio here, studio sessions I like to think of as online real-time collaborating. This is remote document sharing, and you do have integrity of your markups. What you're going to see is that there's full accountability. Okay, if I place a markup, anyone else that's in this session will be able to see that markup appear. Now, they will not be able to move or manipulate that markup. They can make comments, they can reply to it, and we can go through a beautiful session of where everyone can see what everyone else is doing. Okay, which is very, I mean, I love the transparency, but I also love the speed of it in the sense that if I ask a question, if I have an RFI in a certain portion of this project, I know there's someone there looking at that and they can go ahead and answer me. Okay, it's going to speed up that process a lot. Now with sessions, you are limited to 2D or 3D PDFs only. You do have the capability to host 500 participants per session, okay? And this is the big part I talked about earlier. If they use Studio Sessions, or if you use Studio Sessions, you can invite anyone into it, even if they have the free viewer, okay? So in this sense, let me break down this kind of workflow here for a second. If I have anyone that needs to upload documentation, sheets, RFIs, anything, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create them a studio session. And I'm gonna grant them permissions to upload documents and things like that into this studio session. Now, the interesting workflow of that, from that, I guess, would be, do you create a session from your project? Do you take those documents from your project into your session, and then go ahead and allow people to upload more documents, and then take those documents, save them as back into your project? or would you kind of combine them all as needed and then take it back in? Either way, and you guys can take all of the documents that you have from your session when you finish it and pull it down and take it wherever you need it. So it's really enabling collaboration here in terms of, it doesn't matter if you have a paid license or not, right? So also with that, I talked about this a little bit earlier, standardized tool sets with collaboration. Whether you're using projects, sessions, or you're using an iPad, if you can standardize some of these tools before you go into the project, before you go into these sessions, and set them up. Let's say, I'm going to kind of go into this with standardized collaboration here, but let's say you put up a configuration folder or read this, anything like that, where somebody comes in and says, okay, here I have electrical tools, I have mechanical tools, I have comments here, I have RFIs here, I have safety issues here. Anything that you guys need, you can download from this and it'll allow us to track this information, okay? And standardized collaboration is really more of getting your templates down for projects. So in terms of these folder structures, right? Getting a really good idea on how you want to move forward with different types of projects, create those different folder structures, the templates, right? And create your tool sets, host a lot of that information there. If you guys can have any of these custom columns that you might want to create, any layer information you guys want to take up, create that information and save it. Make sure you're saving those custom columns or those layers before you push it up into the session, right? But these documents, they can take it up with them. It's just standardizing that information in those workflows that you guys want to do before heading into the session or project itself. Okay, now thank you very much for your time. With that, I'm going to hand things over to my technical supervisor here, Paul Stuva.
Thanks, David. You guys hear me fine?
Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. So yeah, thanks for running through that. Studio sessions and projects, all extremely useful, as I'm sure most of you have noticed just watching it. A lot of cool tools. For my piece of this, we just want to make sure that when you or your team or anybody you're inviting to collaborate comes in, that they have the ability to do so with as little interruption as possible. As we know, a lot of our remote services right now, a lot of different companies hosting these kinds of services are seeing unprecedented levels of use. Everybody's working remote, working from home. So we just want to make sure that you're aware of any settings that can be set up to enable you to work more efficiently at home. Luckily, with the studio settings, you only have a few ports that you need to open up. Your IT team and or representative should be able to help with this. If not, our technical support team does know how to do this and can get in there as long as you have permissions on your own machine. But it's just the 3 ports and URLs associated with the bluebeam.com, the Amazon web servers, and then the last one there is our Bluebeam Studio UK for any of you guys accessing anywhere else, essentially. So really the big ones for the US here are just the first 2, the bluebeam.com and the Amazon AWS.com. You can also check on the status of all Bluebeam's current cloud services just at status.bluebeam.com. They are really transparent about what's going on with their services, and they're really good about making sure that we are aware of any outages, any performance issues. So if you are having any issues and you're pretty sure you're all set up, this is the place to go to check things out, make sure that everything is good on their end as well as on yours. Otherwise, the collaboration piece that David just talked about with standardizing for tool sets and that kind of thing, just want to make people aware that standardizing tool sets and standardizing a lot of that functionality and layout inside Studio and inside Revu itself, very simple to do, very quick to walk through. So if anybody has any questions regarding that or would like any help doing so, do give a shout out to our tech team. We got plenty of people here that are more than capable of walking you through it, showing you just how to make sure that everybody sees the same thing or has access to the same tools that they may need. So that's the end of my piece. I think we're going to open it up here for any questions, and I think I'll roll it back over to either David or Diana, depending on who wants to manage the questions.
I can go ahead and take that. Thank you, Paul. So if anyone has any questions, please reference the question section in your panel there from GoToWebinar. We can take a minute to allow for any incoming questions.
While we're waiting on questions, I got one for David. What's your favorite markup
Yes, sir.
tool in Bluebeam?
Oh, my favorite markup tool. Well, that's a good one. I mean, I really like, I was trying to think between the Cloud Plus or the text box or the call out itself. Probably, actually, you know what? Probably the call out because it has the leader attached to it. It is a nice text box. The thing about the call out I really enjoy is when you can use it as let's say a hyperlinked RFI, or you attach the RFI to the comment, a submittal, or even a you can just hyperlink it as a comment saying this is detail number this, this, and this, hyperlink that to the page or the sheet set that's the detail that is in the sheet set, or hyperlinking it to a web address itself. I like the varied usage of a tool. I'm really, you know, when I can get down into it and figure out more ways to use it than one, and build out my tool chest out of, you know, quite a few different call outs in a sense. I love it. It's either that, or even better, honestly, is when you snapshot and create your own tools. So when you group tools together and combine some text boxes with maybe a sequence, or different things like that to really customize the different capabilities of your tools within the program.
Very cool. I'm so much more
Yeah.
simple. Dynamic fill tool. I just love seeing that bucket fill up those area spaces.
Ah, there you go,
I'm
dude.
all
I
about the
really like
visual.
that dynamic fill for any circular walls. You know, circular areas you guys might have to do takeoffs with or anything. I really enjoy the fact that when you turn that edge sensitivity on, it'll fill up that room, so you don't have to go trying to draw arcs or anything around like that. Just drop that paint bucket and go.
Beauty.
Yep. Also works for wall types.
Mm.
You can dump
So
it
we
inside
got,
of the wall.
yeah, we have any questions from our attendees today?
So with reference to questions, we have two that are asking if the webinar is recorded. And yes, the webinar is being recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel later today, as well as on our website, topconsolutions.com. If you hover over the technical support tab, there's a category listed as videos, and you can reference this recorded webinar there as well. So yes, this webinar is most certainly being recorded and will be available.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Okay, so those are all the questions at this point in time. As all presenters have relayed, please feel free to reach out to us. We are certainly here to support you in any way that we can. And we hope to see you on the next webinar. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.
All right, thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Happy Friday.